The Galactic Council had seen wars for thousands of years. They had seen planets burn, alliances break, and empires collapse. They had studied every species that ever reached the stars. But there was one species the Council could never fully understand. Humans. Humans were not the strongest race. They were not the oldest. They were not the richest. Yet the entire galaxy treated Earth like a quiet danger zone. Not because humans attacked others, but because humans almost never fought at all. That was the problem. For weeks, ships passing near the human border noticed something strange. Human stations were too silent. Trade channels were too calm. Even their public news signals sounded peaceful and ordinary. No war drills. No threats. No loud military pride. Nothing. Many leaders called it weakness. But the Council felt fear, not confidence. So the Council called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall of the Council filled with hundreds of alien representatives. There were insect-like commanders, tall crystal beings, and cold machine minds. Every face looked toward the floating screen in the center. A report appeared in the air like a ghost. Human activity, abnormally calm. War preparation, unknown. Response to threats, silence. General Kravik, a famous warlord from the Orgon Empire, laughed loudly. "They are scared," he said. "They avoid war because they know they cannot win." Many nodded. It sounded logical. But Speaker Lumia, the Council's oldest diplomat, did not smile. Her voice was slow and heavy. "Humans avoid war," she said, "because they know what war is." The room grew quieter. An intelligence officer stepped forward and activated a second report. This one was classified. Very few had seen it. It was called the Black Archive File, Earth. Images appeared, old human cities, broken roads, burned forests, and huge graves. The footage was from centuries ago when humans were still trapped on their own world. They had fought wars with metal birds in the sky and fire that could melt stone. They had turned their own cities into ruins. Then the footage cut to something worse. A human voice was heard from an ancient recording. "We won," the voice said. "But we don't know what we became." The hall felt colder. Commander Sithril of the Vexa fleet leaned forward. "This is old history," he said. "They are civilized now." The officer nodded. "Yes. They became peaceful. They built laws. They formed alliances. They created trade routes." Then he paused. "But they also built something else." The screen changed again. Blueprint-like shapes appeared. Not weapons in the normal sense. Not tanks, not ships, not bombs. They were systems. Protocols. Global switches. And the names were terrifying. Zero-day response. Ashfall Protocol. Black Archive activation. The council members stared in confusion. General Kravik spoke again, but his voice was less confident now. "What are these?" he asked. The officer answered carefully. "Humans do not build war machines," he said. "Humans build ending machines." No one laughed. Because deep inside, even the greatest commanders understood the meaning of that sentence. The council decided to send a diplomat to Earth. Not as an ambassador. Not as a friend. But as a test. A single ship moved quietly toward the human home system. The diplomat was named Verex, young, intelligent, and brave. He believed humans were calm because they were simple. When he landed on Earth, he expected fear. But he found kindness. Humans welcomed him with polite smiles. They showed him clean streets, peaceful parks, and families living normal lives. There were no soldiers around. No heavy weapons. No visible threat. Verex almost felt embarrassed. Then he noticed something. Every building had hidden reinforced walls. Every street had strange silent sensors. Every power station had underground layers like bunkers. Even hospitals had coded locks. Earth looked peaceful. But it was built like a fortress. Late at night, Varex walked through a government museum. He found a sealed door. There was no guard, but the door was protected by a system far beyond normal security. On the wall beside it, there was one sentence. Not a warning. Not a threat. Just a calm truth. War is not a tool. War is a door. Varex stood still. His breathing slowed. For the first time, he understood. Humans did not avoid war because they were weak. Humans avoided war because they feared what would step through that door. Varex returned to his ship before sunrise. His hands were steady, but his mind was not. The calm human streets were still in his eyes. The smiling faces were still in his memory. Yet behind all that peace, he had felt something heavy, like a giant creature sleeping under thin ice. When he reached orbit, he sent his report to the Galactic Council. He did not write, "Humans are weak." He wrote, "Humans are controlled." That single word confused the council. Controlled by who? By what? Humans had no visible masters. They had no empire above them. They seemed free. But Varex knew the truth. Humans were controlled by their own past. The council opened the black archive again. This time they did not watch it like entertainment. They watched it like a warning. The recordings showed early human history. It was not one war. It was many wars, across centuries. Humans fought for land, for power, for pride, for fear, even for lies. Their wars were not clean battles between soldiers. Their wars touched civilians, children, cities, and nature. Humans turned pain into a normal thing. Then humans grew smarter. Their weapons became faster. Their bombs became brighter. Their machines became more accurate. And their wars became more dangerous. In one old video, a human scientist spoke calmly, as if reading the weather. "If we continue," he said, "we will erase ourselves." The room of alien leaders became silent. Speaker Lumia leaned forward. "They saw their own end," she said softly. And that scared them. But General Kravik still refused to accept it. He hated the idea that peace could come from strength. "So what?" he said. "They nearly destroyed themselves. That does not make them powerful now." The intelligence officer played the next file. It was called the Turning Year. Humans had reached a point where war was no longer about winning. War had become about survival of the entire planet. So the humans did something that shocked the galaxy. They created a global rule. Not a treaty between states. A rule inside their culture. War is failure. They taught their children about it. They built monuments to the victims instead of heroes. They removed war songs from schools. They made peace look like strength, and war look like shame. And when the humans finally reached space and met other species, they carried that same mindset into the stars. Humans traded. Humans negotiated. Humans smiled. Humans apologized too often. Many aliens laughed at them. But then the officer played the hidden file. A private human meeting. No cameras. No speeches. No friendly smiles. Only cold voices. A human leader spoke in simple words. "We do not start wars," he said. "Because we know what happens when we do." Another leader asked, "And if they attack us?" The first leader replied, "Then we end it." A third voice added something even darker. "We won't fight their armies," the voice said. "We will remove their ability to build armies again." The council hall felt like it had lost air. Varex's report returned again and again in their minds: humans are controlled. Yes. Controlled by fear. Controlled by memory. Controlled by shame. But also controlled by planning. To test humans, General Kravik convinced the Council to approve a small pressure mission. A fleet of 5 warships would approach Earth. Not to invade. Just to frighten them. Let them shake, Kravik said. Let them beg for mercy. The ships entered human space and announced themselves proudly. They demanded payment, apology, and submission. The human response was immediate. A calm message. No anger. No threat. Only one sentence. You are in the wrong place. Leave peacefully. Kravik laughed at that message and ordered his ships closer. The humans sent another message. Still calm. We ask again. Leave. The fleet refused. Then Earth went silent. No more messages. No warnings. No negotiation. Just silence. And somewhere deep inside Earth's hidden systems, a protocol woke up for the first time in decades. It had only 2 words. Black Archive. And Varex realized something terrifying. This was not the moment humans started preparing for war. This was the moment humans stopped trying to avoid it. The 5 Orgon warships moved closer to Earth like sharks smelling blood. Their engines glowed bright in the dark space, proud and loud. They wanted humans to panic. They wanted fear. They wanted begging. But Earth stayed quiet. From the Council, General Kravik watched the live feed and smiled with satisfaction. He leaned back in his seat and spoke like a man already holding victory. Look, he said. Nothing. Not even a defense fleet. These humans are all talk. Around him, some leaders nodded. They had expected humans to react with anger or threats. But the silence felt like surrender. Only Speaker Lumia looked worried. Her eyes stayed fixed on Earth. Not on the skies, but on the planet itself. Because the planet looked too calm. It reminded her of a story from her own species, about a volcano that sleeps for years, while people dance on its land. A volcano does not roar when it wakes up. It breathes first. Quietly. Then it ends everything. In the human solar system, the Orgon fleet crossed the final boundary. They entered the zone humans had clearly marked on galactic maps, civilian orbit. That was when the first human response came. Not a fleet. Not a weapon. A single human ship rose from the dark side of the moon. It was small and simple. It did not look like a warship. No heavy cannons. No sharp metal spikes. No intimidating design. It looked almost harmless. The Orgon commander laughed. That's it, he said. They send a toy. The human ship stopped in front of them. A communication channel opened. The screen showed a human officer, calm-faced, with tired eyes. He did not look angry. He did not look afraid. He looked disappointed. You are forcing a mistake, the human officer said. Kravik's commander sneered. You avoid war because you are weak. The human officer shook his head slowly. No, he replied. We avoid war because we remember it. The alien commander pointed toward Earth. Then watch your planet burn. He gave the order. One Orgon ship fired a warning shot toward the atmosphere, just one blast, aimed not to kill, but to scare. The beam hit the ocean and caused a massive explosion of steam. Millions of tons of water rose into the air like a storm cloud. The Orgon crew cheered. But the human officer did not react. He simply whispered into his console, as if speaking to a sleeping beast. Archive confirmed, he said. Door status, locked. The alien commander frowned. What door? The human looked straight at the camera. The door we promised never to open, he said. Then he ended the transmission. For a few seconds, nothing happened. The Orgon fleet waited for humans to send missiles or fighters. Instead, Earth itself changed. Deep beneath the oceans, hidden plates moved. In deserts, underground structures lifted. In mountains, old sealed chambers opened like ancient eyes. On the planet's surface, hundreds of small points lit up, not like explosions, but like signals waking from deep sleep. The Orgon sensors screamed. Multiple energy spikes, one alien shouted. From the planet. Another shouted, not ships, systems. The Orgon commander's smile faded. Fire again. But before they could, something invisible hit their fleet. Not a missile. Not a laser. A wave. A silent pulse that passed through their ships like a ghost. Instantly, engines died. Weapon systems froze. Control panels turned black. 5 warships became 5 empty metal shells in space. The Orgon commander panicked. EMP attack. Restart systems. But there was no restart. The human ship remained still, watching like a judge. A final human message appeared on every dead screen, written in simple words. We did not attack you. We turned you off. Kravik stood up in shock. The council hall erupted in confused shouting. How did they do that? Leaders asked. What weapon is this? Speaker Lumia finally spoke, her voice trembling. That wasn't war, she said. That was control. In the empty space above Earth, the human ship sent one last comm signal, cold, clear, and terrifying. Leave now. The next step is not disabling. And for the first time, the galaxy understood the true fear. Humans did not avoid war because they lacked power. Humans avoided war because if they began, they might not stop. And the door they kept locked was waiting. The Orgon fleet floated in silence like dead bodies in space. Their engines were off. Their weapons were frozen. Even their internal lights were blinking weakly. They were not destroyed, yet they were completely helpless. That was the most humiliating kind of defeat. General Kravik's face turned red with rage inside the council hall. He slammed his hand on the table. This is a trick, he shouted. A coward's tactic. But nobody laughed with him now. In the human system, the small human ship stayed in place, unmoving. It did not chase. It did not threaten again. It simply waited, calm as stone. Inside the disabled alien ships, panic spread. The Orgon commander yelled orders again and again, but his crew could not obey. Their control boards were useless. Their emergency systems were locked behind a firewall they could not even understand. And then something worse happened. A new signal entered their ships. Not a hacking attack. Not a virus. A message. The same message on every screen, in every ship. We will not kill you. We will show you what war really looks like. The Orgon commander swallowed hard. His pride tried to fight fear, but fear was winning. He forced his shaky voice into the communication channel. Human vessel, he said, speak. The human ship answered instantly. The same tired-eyed officer appeared again. His voice was still calm, but now it had no warmth. This is your final chance, he said. Leave our space. Leave our planet. Go home. The Orgon commander growled. You call this peace? You have attacked our fleet. The human officer stared at him, almost with pity. No, the human officer said. We did not attack you. He leaned forward slightly. You attacked us, he said. We stopped you. The Orgon commander shouted, you think you can shame the Orgon Empire? We will return with 1,000 ships. For the first time, the human officer's face changed. Not anger. Not hatred. Just emptiness. He answered in a whisper that felt colder than space. If you return, he said, we will not stop ships. The alien frowned. Then what? The human officer's eyes did not blink. We will stop your ability to build them, he replied. Then the transmission ended. On Earth, alarms did not ring. People were not screaming. The planet did not look like it was at war. It remained peaceful and normal. That peacefulness was the most terrifying thing. Because it meant the humans were not fighting emotionally. They were fighting like a system. Far in space, hidden human satellites activated. Not only around Earth, but across the solar system. Old silent stations turned alive. Deep space nodes opened like hidden eyes. The Orgon sensors, still partly alive, detected a new network connecting. It was not a defense network. It was an execution network. In the council, Speaker Lumia looked down and whispered a truth to herself. Humans are not angry, she said. They are deciding. The council demanded another report. The intelligence officer pulled up a file marked Unknown Human Doctrine. The file had one line. Human war policy, end threat permanently. General Kravik tried to regain control. Send reinforcements, he ordered. Now. But other leaders refused. No, said the machine-minded ambassador. We cannot risk escalation. Kravik shouted, they disabled 5 ships. They must be punished. Speaker Lumia looked at him sharply. They did not disable 5 ships, she said. They disabled the idea of an invasion. In space, the human ship moved at last. Slowly it approached the helpless Orgon flagship. It did not aim weapons. It did not fire a single shot. Instead, it launched 5 small drones. The drones attached to each Orgon ship like tiny insects. Then the human broadcast reached the entire galaxy, not only the Council. Every species, every port, every fleet heard it. A human voice. Calm. Simple. We tried peace. You rejected it. Now you will learn why we avoid war. Suddenly, the Orgon ships were forced to turn around. Their own systems, still locked, redirected them out of the human system. Humans were sending them home. Not as survivors. As a warning. Their fleet drifted away like a broken cymbal, pushed by human control. And in the council hall, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood the real meaning of human peace. Humans did not beg for peace. They demanded it. And when they stopped asking for it, the galaxy started fearing the door would open next. The Orgon warships returned home like ghosts. They did not return with victory banners. They did not return with captured prisoners. They returned with shame, broken systems, and silent crews who could not even look at each other. When they entered Orgon space, their empire gathered to celebrate. But there was nothing to celebrate. The warships floated into orbit, dark and powerless, like dead metal. The Orgon commander walked out of his ship slowly. His face was pale. His hands shook. He was a warrior who had fought many battles, yet his eyes looked like a man who had seen something worse than death. He spoke only one sentence to his emperor. We should never go back, he whispered. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council called the largest meeting in its history. Thousands of species joined the broadcast. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were confused. They all asked the same question. Why do humans avoid war? General Kravik stood in front of the council like a wounded beast. His pride was still burning. They are manipulators, he shouted. They disable ships from a distance. They fight like cowards. But Speaker Lumia raised her hand and silenced him. No, she said calmly. They fight like survivors. She then ordered Verex the Diplomat to speak, because Verex had been to Earth. He had walked their streets. He had seen their calm. Varek stepped forward. I thought humans were peaceful, he said. And they are. The crowd murmured. Varek continued, his voice growing heavier. But their peace is not soft, he said. It is controlled. It is guarded. It is built on fear. A crystal leader asked, fear of us? Varek shook his head. No, he replied. Fear of themselves. That sentence hit the hall like thunder. The council demanded proof. They demanded explanation. They demanded the truth. So Varek opened the final human file, something Earth never shared publicly. Something even human citizens rarely knew in full. It was not a war plan. It was a warning written by humans to humans. The file was called The Monster Rule. It was short. Only a few lines. And it explained everything. War makes monsters. Even the good become cruel. Even the peaceful become hungry for victory. If war begins, someone will open the door. And the thing that steps out will not be human anymore. The council hall went silent. Many species had heard of humans before. They knew about their bravery, their creativity, their strange humor. But this was different. This was human honesty. Humans knew their own darkness. Humans knew that once they started killing, they could justify anything. They could destroy entire worlds and still call it defense. They could win war and lose their soul. That was why they avoided war. Not because they could not fight. But because they knew they would fight too well. A robotic ambassador asked, then why did they not destroy the Orgon ships? Why did they spare them? Speaker Lumia answered. Because humans are trying, she said softly. Trying to stay human. General Kravik whispered, almost broken now, but if they fear war so much, why do they prepare so deeply? Varek turned toward him. Because they learned something, he said. Peace is not free. Peace is protected. Then he added the final truth. The galaxy thinks war is a tool, Varek said. Humans believe war is a door. And behind that door, he continued, is everything they promised never to become again. The council finally sent a message to Earth. Not a demand. Not a threat. A request. A plea. Teach us how you stopped yourselves, the council asked. Teach us how you avoided war. Earth responded with one simple sentence. We did not avoid war because we are kind. We avoided war because we remember. And for the first time, the galaxy respected humans not for their weapons, but for their restraint. Because the most terrifying power was not the power to destroy. It was the power to destroy. And still choose peace.